I can't blame her for her own ignorance. The science wasn't nearly as clear in the 1980s as it is now. All I know is Sister Catherine toiled in the trenches with the same malformed kid that Ms. D dealt with. But she maintained high expectations and didn't let her frustration overwhelm her. She had the mindset of, look, everybody learns in a different way, and we're gonna figure out how you learn. She deduced that I needed repetition, that I needed to solve the same problems over and over again in a different way to learn. And she knew that took time. Ms. D was all about productivity. She was saying, keep up or get out. Meanwhile, I felt backed into a corner. I knew that if I didn't show some improvement, I would eventually be shipped out to that special black hole for good, so I found a solution. I started cheating my ass off. Studying was hard, especially with my f***ed up brain. But I was a damn good cheat. I copied friends' homework and scanned my neighbors' work during tests. I even copied the answers on the standardized tests that didn't have any impact on my grades. It worked. My rising test scores placated Miss D, and my mother stopped getting calls from school. I thought I'd solved a problem when really I was creating new ones by taking the path of least resistance. My coping mechanism confirmed that I would never learn squat at school and that I would never catch up, which pushed me closer toward a flunked out fate. The saving grace of those early years in Brazil was that I was way too young to understand the kind of prejudice I would soon face in my new hick hometown. Whenever you're the only one of your kind, you're in danger of being pushed toward the margins, suspected and disregarded, bullied and mistreated by ignorant people. That's just the way life is, especially back then. And by the time that reality kicked me in the throat, my life had already become a full-fledged f*** you fortune cookie. Whenever I cracked it open, I got the same message. You were born to fail. 5 weeks after Christmas, it had become obvious that my whole life had changed. The unexpected attention and notoriety that came with and followed the release of Can't Hurt Me was as humbling as it was disorienting. After decades of grinding in the shadows outside the public eye, I was now spotlit. I'd always felt most at home in the margins. During my military career, I'd go on my longest runs and rucks before anyone else woke up. While others were relaxing or partying after a hard day or week of work, I stayed in to study my dive tables, pack and repack my parachute, or run and grind in the gym deep into the night. Everything I did on my own time was for my own personal fulfillment and growth. I damn sure didn't do it for attention. Yet I was often misunderstood. I was carrying a boulder as big as the world on my back, just trying to get to the other side of the darkness that was chasing me down. I was terrified that if I stopped getting better, if I gave myself a break from any of it, all my insecurities and innate laziness would get the drop on me again. Anytime I felt physically exhausted or mentally zapped, I pictured that 24-year-old fat ass glaring at me with a big smile on his face. A smile that said, I'm still here, bitch. I am who you really are, and I'm not going anywhere. I looked at each day as an opportunity to mine the negativity that had colonized my brain and became fascinated by the power of the mind and how it can work for us and against us. Often it falls prey to the merry-go-round of emotions and situational conditions that cause confusion and sap us of focus, force, and fortitude, all of which have a natural tendency to ebb and flow like the tide. My early years made me very aware of this inherent fragility we all have. But later on, I learned how to harness and channel all my mental horsepower to accomplish things I never thought possible for myself. And I did it by building what I now refer to as my mental lab and mental. Construction began after my last trip to Buffalo. That's when I finally stopped complaining long enough to realize the training ground that I needed was all around me. My f***ed up life was the raw material I was looking for. And if I paid close attention to my impulses, insecurities, and actions, dropped the shame, and remained willing to dissect my self-doubt, anxiety, and fear, I would find the strength and motivation to transform my life. Soon enough, I found myself hitting the books hard to prepare for the ASVAB test and spending 6 to 8 hours in the gym or on the trails every day to qualify for Navy SEAL training. And it didn't take long to realize that, like life itself, difficult workouts and long study sessions tended to spotlight all my weak points. My desire to continue to eat like shit, my natural impulse to cut corners in almost everything I did, my general lack of drive, and my flagging attention during those marathon ASVAB study sessions revealed my willingness to settle for mediocrity. But what came up for me most often was my failure in pararescue training. It was my constant companion during those weeks. It shadowed me wherever I went. I'd arrived at Air Force boot camp in the best shape of my life. And by the time pararescue training began 8 weeks later, I was in peak physical condition.